The sun was setting over New York City, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. People were busy with their daily lives, some rushing home from work, others enjoying dinner at rooftop restaurants. It was an ordinary evening on Earth, a planet that had enjoyed decades of peace and progress. Humanity had come far since the days of conflict and division. Technology had advanced rapidly, and nations worked together to solve problems like climate change and poverty. Life seemed calm and hopeful, but calmness has a way of ending suddenly. High above Earth's atmosphere, something unusual appeared. A fleet of alien ships emerged from what looked like a tear in space. These ships were massive, sleek, and glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. They moved silently, hovering just beyond Earth's orbit. At first, astronomers thought it might be another unexplained cosmic phenomenon. But when one of the ships sent a signal, there was no denying the truth. Aliens had arrived. The message came through loud and clear across all global communication channels. It wasn't friendly. A deep, cold voice echoed, speaking perfect English. "We are the Vrilax," it said. "Your species is weak, primitive, and unworthy of this planet. Surrender your resources to us, or face destruction." People froze as they heard the words. Phones dropped, conversations stopped, and millions stared at screens in disbelief. Was this real? Could aliens actually be threatening Earth? Governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were held worldwide, and military forces went on high alert. Jack Harper, a seasoned strategist for the United Nations Space Defense Force, UNSD, was called into action. He sat in a dimly lit conference room alongside Claire Bennett, a brilliant astrophysicist who specialized in extraterrestrial studies. Both had spent years preparing for scenarios like this, but never had they imagined it would happen so soon. "We need to negotiate," Claire said firmly, her eyes fixed on the live feed showing the alien ships. "They're here for resources, not genocide. If we can buy time, maybe we can find a solution." Jack nodded but looked uneasy. "Negotiation won't work if they see us as inferior. We have to show strength while keeping our options open." Before any plan could take shape, disaster struck. Without warning, one of Earth's orbital research stations exploded in a flash of light. Debris scattered across space, and thousands of scientists and engineers aboard the station were killed instantly. The Vrilax had acted without mercy, proving their threats were deadly serious. Panic swept across the globe. News outlets broadcast images of the destroyed station, and social media erupted with fear and anger. Protests broke out in major cities, demanding answers and action. Emily Dawson, a young journalist covering the crisis, captured raw footage of families grieving for loved ones lost in the attack. Her reports gave a human face to the tragedy, stirring emotions everywhere. Back at UNSD headquarters, Jack and Claire watched the chaos unfold. General Marcus Hale, a grizzled veteran in charge of Earth's defense, entered the room with grim determination. "This changes everything," he said. "We've been hiding something, a project decades in the making. It's time to reveal it." Jack leaned forward, his heart racing. He knew exactly what the general meant. For years, humanity had secretly built a fleet of advanced warships, hidden away in remote locations. These ships were designed to protect Earth from threats like this. Now, with the Vrilax showing no signs of backing down, the hidden fleet was humanity's only hope. Claire glanced at Jack, her expression a mix of excitement and dread. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly. Jack took a deep breath. "Ready or not, we don't have a choice." As the meeting continued, plans began to form. Humanity's quiet era of peace was over. The Vrilax had made a grave mistake by underestimating Earth. And now, they would learn why angering humans was their biggest error yet. The room was tense as General Marcus Hale stood at the head of the table, his hands resting on a stack of classified files. Jack Harper and Claire Bennett sat across from him, their faces pale but focused. The weight of what they were about to discuss hung in the air like a storm cloud. For years, humanity had worked in secret, preparing for a day many thought would never come. That day was now here. "This is Project Exodus," General Hale began, sliding a folder toward Jack and Claire. Inside were detailed blueprints and schematics of advanced warships, ships unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. It started decades ago, after we recovered alien technology from crashed probes and unidentified crafts. We reverse-engineered it, built these ships, and kept them hidden. They're our insurance policy. Jack flipped through the pages, his eyes widening as he studied the designs. The ships were massive, sleek, and armed with cutting-edge weapons. Some were equipped with cloaking devices, others with plasma cannons capable of tearing through steel. Each vessel was named after ideals humanity cherished: Guardian Star, Aegis Vanguard, Odyssey Dawn. Together, they formed Earth's hidden fleet, a force meant to protect the planet from threats beyond its borders. Claire leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. She had suspected something like this existed, but never imagined the scale. "How many ships are there?" she asked, her voice steady despite the shock. 24 fully operational vessels," General Hale replied. "They've been stationed beneath the ocean floors, inside dormant volcanoes, and even in deep space bunkers. Until today, only a handful of people knew about them. Now, we need your help to bring them online." Jack nodded slowly, absorbing the gravity of the situation. "If we deploy this fleet, the Vrilax will know we're not as weak as they think. But we'll also be showing our hand. Once they see what we're capable of, they might escalate their attacks." "That's a risk we have to take," General Hale said firmly. "We can't let them destroy Earth piece by piece. It's time to fight back." Over the next few hours, plans were made. Jack would command the fleet, leading the charge against the Vrilax. His experience in strategy and combat made him the obvious choice. Claire, on the other hand, would stay behind on Earth, working with a team of scientists and analysts to gather intelligence and coordinate efforts. Her knowledge of alien technology would be crucial in finding weaknesses in the enemy's defenses. As the meeting ended, Jack and Claire stepped outside into the cool night air. The city around them was eerily quiet, most people glued to their screens, watching updates about the crisis. Jack glanced up at the stars, his jaw tightening. Somewhere out there, the Vrilax fleet loomed, waiting to strike again. "What do you think our chances are?" Claire asked, breaking the silence. Jack hesitated. "Honestly, I don't know. These ships are powerful, but so is the Vrilax. What I do know is that we can't give up. If we show fear, if we back down now, they'll crush us without hesitation." Claire nodded, her resolve hardening. "Then we make sure they regret picking a fight with us." Back at UNSD headquarters, preparations moved quickly. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock, activating the hidden fleet. One by one, the ships emerged from their hiding places. The Guardian Star rose from the depths of the Pacific Ocean, water cascading off its hull as it broke the surface. The Aegis Vanguard launched from a secret facility buried under Antarctica's ice. In orbit, the Odyssey Dawn slipped out of a camouflaged bunker, joining the growing armada. News of the fleet spread cautiously among military personnel and key government officials. Morale began to rise. Soldiers who had trained for years without knowing why suddenly understood the purpose of their drills. Pilots climbed into cockpits, ready to defend their home. Among them was Ryan Carter, a skilled pilot known for his quick reflexes and sharp instincts. He grinned as he inspected his fighter, the Phoenix Blade. "About time we showed those aliens what we're made of," he muttered to himself. Meanwhile, Emily Dawson, the journalist covering the crisis, noticed subtle changes in official statements. Phrases like, "We are prepared," and "Humanity stands united" hinted at something bigger. She dug deeper, piecing together clues that suggested Earth wasn't as defenseless as it seemed. Though she couldn't confirm anything yet, her instincts told her the tide was about to turn. As the final ship joined the fleet, Jack stood aboard the Guardian Star, looking out at the assembled vessels. Behind him, crews worked tirelessly, checking systems and running simulations. Ahead of them lay uncertainty and danger. But for the first time since the Vrilax arrived, Jack felt a flicker of hope. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but it wasn't going down without a fight. The world woke up to a new reality. News of Earth's hidden fleet spread like wildfire, though not all the details were public yet. Governments released carefully worded statements, emphasizing humanity's unity and readiness to defend itself. The message was clear: Earth would not back down. People everywhere felt a surge of pride and defiance. For the first time since the Vrilax arrived, hope replaced fear. Emily Dawson stood in the middle of Times Square, her camera rolling as crowds gathered around massive screens displaying live updates. She interviewed soldiers heading to their posts, families sending loved ones off, and children holding handmade signs that read, "We stand together." One boy, no older than 10, told her confidently, "If the aliens think they can scare us, they're wrong. We've got this." Her footage captured the spirit of humanity, resilient, determined, and unshakable. Emily knew her report would inspire millions. As she wrapped up the segment, she whispered to herself, "This is history in the making." Meanwhile, high above Earth, the human fleet assembled in orbit. Ships drifted silently against the backdrop of stars, their engines glowing faintly. Inside the Guardian Star, Jack Harper paced the command deck, reviewing tactical maps and ship statuses. He couldn't afford mistakes. Every decision he made could mean life or death for billions of people. Claire Bennett worked tirelessly on Earth, coordinating with scientists and analysts to gather every bit of information about the Vrilax. They intercepted alien communications, studied energy signatures from their ships, and ran simulations to predict enemy movements. Claire's team discovered something critical. The Vrilax relied heavily on shield technology to protect their vessels. If they could find a way to disable those shields, humanity might stand a chance. "Jack," Claire said over a secure channel, her voice urgent, "I've found a pattern in their shield frequencies. It's subtle, but if we hit them with an EMP pulse tuned to the right frequency, we might be able to disrupt it." Jack nodded, absorbing the information. "Good work, Claire. We'll need to test it during smaller skirmishes before we take on their main fleet. Let's make sure it works." As preparations continued, tensions rose. The Vrilax fleet remained stationed just beyond Earth's moon, watching and waiting. Their leader, Commander Zinuk, had grown impatient. He sent another message to Earth, mocking humanity's attempts to resist. "Your primitive fleet amuses me." His cold voice echoed across global broadcasts. "You cling to false hope, but your end is inevitable." The words fueled anger rather than fear. Soldiers aboard the human ships muttered curses under their breath. Ryan Carter, piloting the Phoenix Blade, clenched his fists. "Let them come," he growled. "We'll show them what primitive really means." The first test came sooner than expected. A squadron of Vrilax scout ships approached Earth's moon, probing for weaknesses. Jack saw an opportunity. He ordered a small group of human fighters, led by Ryan, to engage the scouts while testing Claire's EMP theory. Ryan's heart raced as he led his team into battle. The Vrilax ships were fast and agile, darting through space like predators. But the human pilots were relentless. Using cloaking devices to ambush their enemies, they fired precision shots, forcing the scouts into retreat. When the moment was right, Ryan launched an EMP missile at one of the alien ships. The missile struck true, and for a brief moment, the ship's shields flickered and vanished. "Yes," Ryan shouted, punching the air. The rest of the team cheered as they chased the damaged scout away. Back on the Guardian Star, Jack watched the footage with satisfaction. Claire's plan worked, at least in part. Now they needed to refine it for larger-scale battles. Word of the skirmish reached Earth quickly. Journalists reported the victory, calling it a turning point. Emily Dawson wrote passionately about the bravery of the pilots and the ingenuity of the scientists. Her article ended with a bold statement. "The Vrilax thought they could crush us. Instead, they awakened a sleeping giant. But not everyone celebrated. General Marcus Hale reminded his team that the fight was far from over. That was just a taste of what's coming, he warned. The Vrilax won't stop until we're wiped out. Or they are. As night fell on Earth, cities lit up with messages of support for the fleet. Skyscrapers displayed slogans like "Earth stands strong" and "No fear in the stars." Humanity had banded together like never before, united by a common purpose. Jack looked down at the glowing planet from his station on the Guardian Star. Despite the challenges ahead, he felt a sense of pride. The Vrilax had underestimated Earth, and now they would face the consequences. The tension in space was thick, like a storm waiting to break. The human fleet hovered in formation near Earth's moon, ready for whatever came next. Jack Harper stood on the bridge of the Guardian Star, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Vrilax fleet loomed in the distance, their ships glowing faintly with an ominous blue light. It was only a matter of time before they made their move. Commander Zinok's voice crackled over the communication channel, cold and mocking. "You think your little toys can stop us? You are nothing but insects buzzing around a flame. Surrender now, or we will burn you all." Jack clenched his jaw, but kept his composure. He activated the broadcast system, ensuring his response would reach every human ship and the Vrilax. "You've made a big mistake," he said, his voice steady and firm. "You don't know who you're dealing with. Today, you'll learn why injuring humanity was the worst decision you ever made." The message sent a ripple through both fleets. On the human side, pilots and crew members felt a surge of pride and determination. Ryan Carter, sitting in the cockpit of the Phoenix Blade, grinned. "That's the spirit," he muttered. "Let's show them what we're made of." The Vrilax didn't waste time responding. Moments later, smaller scout ships broke away from their main fleet and raced toward the human forces. The first real battle was about to begin. Ryan's squadron was ordered to intercept the scouts. Flying in tight formation, they used their cloaking devices to approach undetected. When they were close enough, Ryan gave the signal, and the human fighters decloaked, unleashing a barrage of plasma fire. The Vrilax ships scattered, trying to evade, but the humans were faster and more precise. Claire Bennett watched the battle unfold from Earth, her heart pounding as she analyzed the data streaming in. Her EMP theory had worked during the earlier skirmish, but this was different. The Vrilax scouts were better armed and more aggressive. She held her breath, hoping the human pilots could hold their own. Back in space, Ryan's team fought fiercely. One by one, they targeted the enemy ships, firing EMP missiles whenever possible. The tactic worked. Several Vrilax shields flickered and failed, leaving their ships vulnerable. But the aliens adapted quickly, retreating when things got too dangerous. As the skirmish raged, Jack monitored the situation from the Guardian Star. He knew this was just the beginning. The Vrilax were testing humanity's strength, probing for weaknesses. Every victory mattered, no matter how small. "Stay sharp," he ordered over the comms. "They're learning from us. Don't let them gain the upper hand." Despite the chaos, the human fleet held its ground. Pilots cheered as they took down enemy ships, their confidence growing with each success. Even so, the cost of the battle was clear. 2 human fighters were destroyed, and their pilots lost. Among them was Lieutenant Sarah Fields, a young woman who had dreamed of exploring the stars. Her sacrifice weighed heavily on Ryan and the rest of her squadron. When the Vrilax scouts finally retreated, the human fleet regrouped. Exhausted but victorious, the pilots returned to their carriers for repairs and rest. Ryan climbed out of his fighter, his face streaked with sweat. He looked at the empty spot where Sarah's ship should have been and swallowed hard. "We'll make them pay," he whispered to himself. On Earth, Claire updated Jack on the battle's outcome. "We proved we can take them on," she said, though her tone was somber. "But they'll come back stronger next time. We need to be ready." Jack nodded, staring at the tactical map. The Vrilax fleet was still out there, watching and waiting. This skirmish had been a test for both sides. Humanity had passed, but the real fight was yet to come. Across the globe, people celebrated the victory. Emily Dawson wrote another article highlighting the bravery of the pilots and the ingenuity of the scientists. Her words inspired millions, reminding them that humanity wasn't alone in this fight. Together, they would stand strong. But as Jack looked out at the stars, he knew the hardest battles were still ahead. The Vrilax weren't going to give up easily, and neither was humanity. The Battle of Luno was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. It was chaotic, intense, and deadly. The human fleet gathered near Earth's moon, ready to defend their home at all costs. Jack Harper stood on the bridge of the Guardian Star, his hands gripping the railing as he watched the tactical display. The Vrilax fleet had sent a larger force this time, dozens of ships advancing steadily toward the human line. Ryan Carter led his squadron into the fight once again. His fighter, the Phoenix Blade, darted through space alongside other human ships. They moved with precision, using cloaking devices to ambush the enemy before striking hard and fast. The Vrilax ships were bigger and tougher, but the humans had speed and strategy on their side. Claire Bennett worked tirelessly from Earth, analyzing data in real time. She guided the pilots, helping them identify weak points in the Vrilax defenses. Focus on the engines, she instructed over the comms. Their shields are weakest there. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced as she watched the battle unfold. The fighting was fierce. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, lighting up the darkness like fireworks. Human ships weaved between enemy fire, dodging explosions, and returning shots with deadly accuracy. Ryan's team targeted one of the larger Vrilax cruisers, firing EMP missiles that temporarily disabled its shields. The cruiser faltered, giving the humans an opening to strike. But the Vrilax weren't easy opponents. They adapted quickly, countering the EMP attacks by rotating their shield frequencies. Their ships fired back with devastating force, destroying several human fighters. Among the fallen was Lieutenant Sarah Fields, whose ship exploded after taking a direct hit. Ryan gritted his teeth, pushing aside his grief to focus on the mission. "We can't stop now," he muttered. "Not until they're gone." Back on the Guardian Star, Jack monitored the battle closely. He ordered reinforcements to support Ryan's squadron, knowing they couldn't afford to lose momentum. Every destroyed Vrilax ship boosted morale, but every human casualty weighed heavily on him. "Hold the line," he commanded. "We're not backing down." The turning point came when Captain Lisa Monroe, commanding the Eclipse Blade, led a daring maneuver. Her ship lured a group of Vrilax vessels away from the main fleet, drawing their fire. With the enemy distracted, Ryan's squadron launched a surprise attack from behind, crippling multiple ships. But the victory came at a cost. The Eclipse Blade was overwhelmed by enemy fire, disappearing in a blinding explosion. When the smoke cleared, the remaining Vrilax ships retreated, leaving the battlefield littered with debris. The human fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. Pilots cheered over the comms, celebrating their hard-fought win. But the mood was somber when they realized how many lives had been lost. On Earth, Emily Dawson reported on the battle, capturing both the triumph and the tragedy. She interviewed soldiers who had returned from the front lines, families mourning their loved ones, and scientists working tirelessly to improve their tactics. Her words painted a picture of resilience. Even in the face of loss, humanity stands united. We will not give up. Jack reflected on the battle as he stood alone on the bridge. The Vrilax had been pushed back, but he knew they would return stronger. Humanity had proven it could fight, but the war was far from over. He looked out at the stars, determination burning in his eyes. "We've shown them what we're capable of," he said softly. "But this is just the beginning." Claire continued her work, studying the data from the battle. She found patterns in the Vrilax movements and weaknesses in their technology. Each discovery brought them closer to a decisive victory. "We'll be ready next time," she promised herself. Across the globe, people mourned the fallen but celebrated their bravery. Flags flew at half-mast, and memorials were held for those who had given their lives. Yet, amidst the sorrow, there was hope. Humanity had faced a powerful enemy and survived. Together, they vowed to keep fighting. For Earth, for freedom, and for the future. The victory at the Battle of Luna gave humanity a moment to breathe, but no one was celebrating for long. The Vrilax fleet still loomed in space, regrouping and preparing for another attack. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time before they struck again. And next time, they would come with even greater force. Jack Harper walked the corridors of the Guardian Star, his mind racing. He had spent hours reviewing the battle footage, analyzing every move and mistake. The human fleet had fought bravely, but luck had played a big part in their success. Next time, they wouldn't have that luxury. "We need a plan," he muttered to himself. "Something bold." Claire Bennett called him from Earth, her voice urgent. "I've been studying the data," she said. "The Vrilax are predictable when they think they're winning. If we can draw them into a trap, we might be able to take out a large portion of their fleet." Jack nodded, liking the idea. "A risky gambit," he replied. "But it could work. Who's willing to lead it?" Ryan Carter stepped forward without hesitation. "I'll do it," he said firmly. "My squadron will draw their fire and lure them into position. Just give us the coordinates." Jack hesitated. Ryan had already lost friends in the last battle, including Sarah Fields. Sending him back into danger felt wrong. But Jack knew Ryan was the best pilot for the job. "All right," he said finally. "But this isn't a suicide mission. You get in, bait them, and get out. Understand?" Ryan nodded, determination burning in his eyes. Understood. The plan was set. Ryan's squadron would act as bait, flying close to the Vrilax fleet and making themselves look like easy targets. Once the aliens took the bait, the main human fleet would ambush them using Claire's EMP tactic to disable their shields. It was a dangerous strategy, but it was their best chance to turn the tide of the war. As Ryan prepared for the mission, he gathered his team. "This is going to be tough," he told them. "But we've done harder things. Stick together, follow orders, and trust each other. We'll make it through." The pilots nodded, their faces tense but resolute. They climbed into their fighters, engines humming as they launched into space. Ryan led the way, his ship darting toward the Vrilax fleet. The enemy spotted them almost immediately and gave chase. On the Guardian Star, Jack watched the operation unfold on the tactical display. His hands were clenched into fists as he saw Ryan's squadron drawing the Vrilax ships closer to the trap zone. "Hold steady," he ordered over the comms. "Wait for my signal." Ryan's heart pounded as he flew deeper into enemy territory. The Vrilax ships fired relentlessly, their plasma bolts narrowly missing his fighter. "Stay focused," he told himself. "Just a little longer." Suddenly, one of his pilots screamed over the comms. "They're on me. I'm hit." A Vrilax cruiser had targeted a smaller human ship, crippling it instantly. Ryan wanted to turn back and help, but he knew he couldn't risk the entire mission. "Keep moving," he shouted. "We're almost there." Finally, the Vrilax ships entered the trap zone. Jack gave the order, and the main human fleet sprang into action. Fighters swooped in from all sides, firing EMP missiles that disabled the alien shields. The Vrilax were caught off guard, their massive ships vulnerable to attack. Ryan's squadron broke away, retreating to safety as the ambush unfolded. Explosions lit up space as human ships tore through the unshielded Vrilax vessels. For the first time, the aliens seemed shaken. Back on Earth, Claire watched the battle with relief. Her plan had worked, but she knew the fight wasn't over yet. The Vrilax would adapt, and humanity would need to stay one step ahead. When the dust settled, the human fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. Ryan returned to the Guardian Star, his face pale but proud. "We did it," he said quietly, "but we lost good people today." Jack placed a hand on his shoulder. "Their sacrifice won't be forgotten. Thanks to them, We're still standing. Across the globe, people celebrated the victory, though grief lingered. Humanity had proven its strength once more, but the war was far from over. The ambush had worked, but the Vrilax weren't done yet. Their fleet regrouped quickly, retreating to a safe distance where they could reassess their strategy. Humanity had won a key battle, but the war was far from over. The aliens were angry now, angrier than ever, and everyone knew they would strike back with even greater force. Jack Harper stood on the bridge of the Guardian Star, staring at the tactical display. The human fleet had taken heavy damage during the ambush, and repairs were underway. Ships drifted in orbit, as engineers worked tirelessly to patch hull breaches and replace damaged systems. Despite the victory, the mood aboard the fleet was somber. Lives had been lost, and the cost of the fight weighed heavily on everyone. Claire Bennett called from Earth, her voice urgent. "I found something," she said. "Their command ship, the Vengeance Blade, is the heart of their operation. If we can disable it, we might cripple their entire fleet." Jack nodded slowly. Attacking the Vrilax command ship was risky, but it was also their best chance to end the conflict before it dragged on. "We'll need a small team for this," he said. "Someone who can get in, do the job, and get out fast." Ryan Carter volunteered immediately. "I'll lead it," he said firmly. "My squadron has the experience, and we know how to handle ourselves." Jack hesitated. Ryan had already risked his life multiple times, and sending him into such a dangerous mission felt wrong. But he also knew Ryan was the best choice. "All right," Jack said finally. "But this isn't just about bravery. Follow the plan, no matter what." The plan was simple but bold. A small team of fighters, led by Ryan, would sneak past the Vrilax defenses using cloaking devices. Once inside, they would deploy EMP missiles to disable the Vengeance Blade shields, creating an opening for a boarding party. Jack himself would lead the boarding team, aiming to capture or destroy the ship's command center. As preparations began, tension filled the air. Pilots and crew members worked around the clock, checking weapons, running simulations, and studying enemy movements. Ryan spent hours briefing his team, going over every detail of the mission. "This is our shot," he told them. "If we succeed, we end this war. But if we fail, well, let's not fail." On the day of the mission, the human fleet moved into position. Ryan's squadron launched first, slipping through space like shadows. Their cloaked ships glided past the Vrilax fleet undetected, heading straight for the Vengeance Blade. Inside his fighter, Ryan focused on the task ahead, blocking out fear and doubt. When they reached the target, Ryan gave the signal. The cloaking devices disengaged, and the fighters fired EMP missiles at the massive alien ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a flicker, the Vengeance Blade shields collapsed. "Now," Ryan shouted over the comms. Jack's boarding party sprang into action. Armed with plasma rifles and breaching tools, they docked with the Vengeance Blade and stormed aboard. The interior was dark and chaotic, lit only by flashing emergency lights. Alien soldiers swarmed the corridors, firing relentlessly at the intruders. The humans fought back fiercely, pushing forward inch by inch. Claire monitored the situation from Earth, guiding the team through the ship's layout. "Command center is 2 levels up," she instructed. "Watch for reinforcements. They're coming your way." Jack led the charge, his heart pounding as they fought their way closer to their goal. Behind him, his team held the line, taking down Vrilax soldiers with precision and determination. Finally, they reached the command center, a massive chamber filled with glowing consoles and alien technology. Inside, Commander Zinok waited, towering and menacing. He sneered at Jack. "You think you can stop us?" he growled. "You are nothing." Jack didn't respond. He raised his weapon, ready to finish the fight. But Zinok wasn't alone. Guards surrounded him, forcing Jack to think fast. With a swift motion, he tossed an EMP grenade, disabling the guards' weapons. Chaos erupted as the team pushed forward, overwhelming the remaining defenders. Zinnock tried to flee, but Jack cornered him. The alien commander snarled, refusing to surrender. In the end, Jack managed to disable Zinnock's weapon, leaving the alien leader powerless. "We'll be back," Zinnock spat as he retreated deeper into the ship. Jack let him go, knowing their priority was securing the command center. Back aboard the Guardian Star, the news spread quickly. The Vengeance Blade was crippled, and the Vrilax fleet was in disarray. It was a turning point in the war, but not the end. Humanity had proven its strength, but the fight was far from over. The Vengeance Blade was crippled, its command center in ruins. The human boarding team quickly secured the area, disabling critical systems and planting charges to ensure the ship couldn't be used against them again. Jack Harper stood in the alien control room, his breath heavy from the fight, his mind racing with what came next. Commander Zinnock had escaped, but the damage was done. Without their flagship's leadership, the Vrilax fleet was in chaos. Ryan Carter's squadron hovered nearby, keeping watch for any counterattacks. Their cloaking devices were still active, making them invisible to the enemy. "Good job out there," Jack said over the comms, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Let's get back to the fleet before they regroup." As the humans retreated, explosions rippled across the Vengeance Blade. The charges detonated, tearing through the massive ship and leaving it a drifting wreck. The sight sent a clear message to the Vrilax. Humanity wasn't afraid to fight back, and they could win. Back aboard the Guardian Star, the mood was tense but hopeful. Pilots and crew members cheered quietly, knowing they had dealt a major blow to the enemy. But Jack knew better than to celebrate too soon. Zinnock was still out there, and the Vrilax weren't going to give up easily. "We've hurt them," he told his team during a debriefing. "But this isn't over. They'll come at us harder next time." On Earth, Claire Bennett analyzed the data from the mission. Her screens were filled with information about the Vengeance Blade systems and the Vrilax fleet's movements. She noticed something troubling. The aliens were retreating, but not far. They were regrouping near Earth's moon, preparing for another attack. "They're not done yet," she warned Jack. "Zinnock will want revenge." Across the globe, people celebrated the victory cautiously. Emily Dawson published another article, focusing on the bravery of the soldiers who had risked everything. "Today, we struck a blow for Earth," she wrote. "But the war is far from over. We must remain united and ready." Meanwhile, deep within the remains of the Vrilax fleet, Commander Zinnock seethed with rage. His once proud flagship was destroyed, and his forces were scattered. He paced the bridge of his new command ship, plotting his next move. "These humans are more cunning than I thought," he growled to his officers. "But they are still weak. We will crush them completely." Back on the Guardian Star, Jack reflected on the battle. Humanity had proven it could stand toe-to-toe with the Vrilax, but the cost had been high. Lives lost, ships damaged, and countless sacrifices weighed heavily on his mind. "We've shown them we're not afraid," he said to Claire during a private call. "But every victory comes with a price." Claire nodded, her expression serious. "We need to keep improving. If we can find more weaknesses in their technology, we might be able to end this sooner." As repairs continued on the human fleet, preparations were made for the next fight. Soldiers trained harder, engineers worked around the clock, and scientists like Claire searched for new ways to outsmart the enemy. Ryan Carter spent hours reviewing footage of the battle, looking for ways to improve his tactics. "We got lucky this time," he admitted to his team. "Next time, we can't rely on luck." Days passed, and the Vrilax remained quiet. Their ships lingered near the moon, watching and waiting. It was clear they were planning something big. Jack ordered the fleet to stay alert, knowing the calm wouldn't last long. "They're testing us," he told his crew, "waiting for us to make a mistake." Despite the looming threat, humanity felt stronger than ever. The victories at the Battle of Luna and the destruction of the Vengeance Blade had proven that Earth wasn't defenseless. People around the world came together, supporting the soldiers and scientists fighting for their survival. Flags flew high, messages of hope spread online, and communities rallied to help those affected by the war. Jack looked out at the stars from the bridge of the Guardian Star. The Vrilax had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. But Jack knew the hardest battles were still ahead. "We've shown them what we're capable of," he whispered to himself. "Now we have to finish the job." The war wasn't over, but humanity had taken a giant step forward. Together, they'd vowed to keep fighting. For Earth, for freedom, and for the future. The Vrilax fleet finally made its move. After days of silence, their ships surged forward from the moon's orbit, heading straight for Earth. This time, they came with everything they had, hundreds of vessels, glowing with menacing blue light, their weapons primed for destruction. Humanity braced for the biggest battle yet. Jack Harper stood on the bridge of the Guardian Star, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The human fleet was ready, but the sheer size of the Vrilax armada was daunting. "This is it," he said to his crew. "Everything we've done has led to this moment. Stay sharp and remember why we're here." Claire Bennett worked furiously from Earth, analyzing every scrap of data she could gather. She had discovered a critical detail about the Vrilax ships. Their engines emitted a specific energy signature that could be targeted. If the humans concentrated their fire on the engines after disabling the shields, they could cripple entire ships quickly. "Aim for the engines," she instructed over the comms. "It's our best chance." Ryan Carter led his squadron into the fight once again. His fighters darted through space, using cloaking devices to ambush the enemy before striking with EMP missiles. The first wave of attacks disabled dozens of Vrilax shields, leaving their ships vulnerable. The human fleet followed up with precision shots, targeting the exposed engines. Explosions lit up the void as alien ships were torn apart. But the Vrilax fought back fiercely. Their larger cruisers unleashed devastating barrages of plasma fire, forcing the human ships to scatter. Pilots screamed over the comms as their fighters were hit, some disappearing in bursts of light. Ryan clenched his teeth, pushing aside his fear. "Stay focused," he shouted. "We can't let them break through." On the Guardian Star, Jack coordinated the battle, directing ships to reinforce weakened areas. He knew the Vrilax were trying to punch through the human line to reach Earth. Every second counted. "Hold the line," he ordered. "Don't let them get past us." The fighting was relentless. Ships on both sides were destroyed, debris scattering across space like confetti. Despite the losses, the human fleet held its ground. Claire's strategy was working. The Vrilax ships were falling faster than before. But the cost was high. Ryan's squadron lost 2 more fighters, their pilots sacrificing themselves to protect the fleet. Finally, the tide turned. With their numbers dwindling and their flagship gone, the Vrilax began to retreat. Their ships turned away from Earth, fleeing back toward the moon. Cheers erupted across the human fleet as the realization sank in. They had won. Back on Earth, people celebrated cautiously. Emily Dawson captured the moment in her latest report, highlighting the bravery of the soldiers and the ingenuity of the scientists. "Today, humanity proved it will not back down," she wrote. "But the scars of this war will linger for years to come." Jack watched the retreating Vrilax fleet, his heart heavy but resolute. The victory was bittersweet. Too many lives had been lost, too many sacrifices made. He looked at the stars, knowing the fight wasn't truly over. Zinok was still out there, and the Vrilax would likely return someday. But for now, Earth was safe. Later, during a quiet moment, Jack met with Claire via video call. "We did it," she said, though her voice was tinged with sadness. "But I can't stop thinking about how much it cost." "Neither can I," Jack replied. "But we gave Earth a chance. That's what matters." Across the globe, memorials were held for the fallen. Flags flew at half-mast, and families mourned their loved ones. Yet, amidst the grief, there was hope. Humanity had faced an overwhelming threat and survived. Together, They vowed to rebuild and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. The Vrilax had underestimated Earth and paid the price. Humanity had shown its strength, resilience, and unity. The war was over, but the lessons learned would shape the future. As Jack gazed at the stars, he whispered softly, "We'll be ready next time." Earth had endured, and humanity's journey into the cosmos was just beginning. Months passed after the Vrilax retreat, and Earth began to heal. The scars of the war were still visible: burned-out cities, families mourning their losses, and ships in orbit undergoing repairs. But there was also a sense of hope. Humanity had faced an alien threat and emerged victorious. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about growth, unity, and looking toward the future. Jack Harper stood on the observation deck of the Guardian star, staring at the stars. The human fleet remained active, patrolling Earth's orbit and preparing for any potential threats. The Vrilax hadn't returned yet, but Jack knew they might someday. "We can't let our guard down," he told his crew during meetings. "This victory doesn't mean we're safe forever." Claire Bennett continued her work from Earth, studying the data collected during the war. She and her team analyzed every detail about the Vrilax technology, learning how to improve Earth's defenses. "If we face them again, we need to be stronger," she said during a briefing with military leaders. Her research inspired new advancements in energy shields, faster engines, and more efficient weapon systems. Humanity was evolving, driven by the lessons of the past. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal, but with noticeable changes. Nations worked closer than ever before, pooling resources and knowledge to strengthen Earth's defenses. Space exploration became a top priority, with governments investing heavily in building new ships and establishing colonies on the Moon and Mars. People realized that Earth couldn't rely solely on its hidden fleet. Humanity needed to expand beyond its home planet to ensure long-term survival. Emily Dawson published a book about the war, titled Anger of the Stars. It became a global bestseller, capturing the bravery of soldiers, the sacrifices made, and the resilience of humanity. Her words reminded people of what they had overcome and inspired them to keep moving forward. "The war changed us," she wrote in the final chapter. "It showed us who we are and who we can become." Ryan Carter returned to Earth after months in space. He visited memorials for his fallen comrades, placing flowers beside plaques bearing their names. He felt proud of what they had achieved, but carried the weight of their loss. When reporters asked him about the future, he smiled faintly. "We've proven we can protect ourselves," he said. "Now it's time to explore, to learn, and to grow. That's how we honor those we lost." General Marcus Hale retired soon after the war, passing leadership to younger officers who shared his vision of a united Earth. In his farewell speech, he emphasized the importance of staying vigilant. "We won this battle," he said, "but the galaxy is vast, and we're not alone. We must always be ready." As time went on, humanity entered a new era. Cities rebuilt themselves with advanced technology. Schools taught children about the war and its lessons, and scientists dreamed of reaching farther into space. The hidden fleet served as both a shield and a symbol, a reminder of what humanity could achieve when united. One evening, Jack stood outside his home, gazing at the night sky. Claire joined him, holding a tablet filled with new designs for exploration ships. "What happens next?" she asked softly. Jack smiled. "We keep going. We build, we explore, and we prepare. The Vrilax might come back, or we might meet others out there. Either way, we'll be ready." Together, they looked up at the stars, feeling a mix of pride and determination. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and survived. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were no longer afraid. Earth was strong, united, and ready to step into the unknown. The war had ended, but humanity's journey was just beginning.